Whew. Oh hey everyone, looks like the protest to free mattresses from the oppression of bedsheets was a success. Oh, there's another movement starting. I've gotta go help the cause! This year's mainline entry in the Ultra franchise is Ultraman Tiga, New Generation Tiga. The Ultra series is in a pretty favourable position thanks to the success of Ultraman Z and good international reach, so this year's release was pretty anticipated. Number 2, it's Ultraman Tiga. Ultraman Tiga is crazy popular. In China, Asia, everywhere in the world, this guy is definitely a fan beloved, especially since the people who grew up with Tiga are now grown up and are checking back in for the nostalgia. But beside Tiga's celebration via Trigger, it also sees a return to the Ancient Giant storyline, or as some like to call it, the Neo Frontier universe, the home universe of Ultraman Tiga and its sequel Ultraman Dyna. While at this point in time we're not exactly sure how Trigger connects itself to Neo Frontier, but what's certain is that this setting is being revisited again, something that some fans have been wanting for a long time now. Now, revisiting an idea or setting can be very exciting, whether the idea is a setting, a concept, or even a clever homage. It will be an opportunity to develop those ideas in new ways, if they weren't given the chance to be developed before. Fans also like to be attached to the franchise or some aspects of it, or to a certain idea. So if an idea gets revisited again, it will be a nice treat for the fanbase, benefiting from the old fans' excitement and reaping the untapped potential from before. Since we finally got a revisit to TDG via Ultraman Trigger after years of clamoring, let's start discussing and clamoring for some other ideas and concepts from the Ultra franchise that, in my opinion, should be revisited again. Firstly, and in no particular order, is a rather obvious pick: the Ultra N Project. What is the Ultra N Project? In short, the project consists of a new departure in design of Ultraman Noah, the 2004 feature film Ultraman, or Ultraman the Next, and the series Ultraman Nexus. It aimed to reimagine the series in a more drastic fashion than series like Tiga, Gaia, or Cosmos. Instead, it went for a more realistic, mature, and grittier take on the Ultraman concept, especially the Next. Even the series was different than the standard Ultra fare up until then. Nexus told a story about an Ultra who changed hosts, called Dunamists, throughout the season, and the storytelling structure per episode was different as it is definitely not episodic, and did not have a Monster of the Week formula. So why this series? It wasn't given a chance to show its full potential because the series was cut short by the TV network TBS. Among the things that the series got gutted about was that it was supposed to tell one final arc and featured a final villain called Dark Lucifer with a terrifying design. While the series still managed to end with the transformation into Ultraman Noah, there very clearly was a lot of rushed content and more to tell. Ultraman X did pay tribute to the idea of the Dunamist and a cameo by Takuji Kawakubo, who played the main character in Ultraman Nexus, and it was very nice that the series was given respect like this. Ultraman Nexus has a lot of fans. Many really love its innovative ideas like the meta field and the struggles of each Dunamist as they bond. Understandably, many were not very happy that the series ended prematurely. The idea of Dunamists transferring the power of Nexus to one another should still be revisited. Not only that, but the evolving Ultraman who finally regains his true godlike power is an interesting take on the idea of changing forms. An easy way to revisit the idea may be to go back to the Nexus universe with the Space Beasts, revisit the Night Raiders, meet Ren Senju, Nagi and the others again. However, it is also quite a difficult thing to revisit, because of how contained its storyline is. Simply giving it a sequel or prequel may damage the series as a whole, especially if they make it a main series in the gimmick generation. Another problem with the Ultra N project is the handling of Ultraman Noah, because if they do decide to do something big again with Nexus, they'll need to explain what circumstance made Noah devolve back into Nexus, or else they'll do a big disrespect to the character's strength. Even his small appearance in the Ginga S movie has been a subject of contention for so long because of this aspect of the character. In my opinion, the best way to revisit the idea of Nexus is to do a mini-series similar to Ultraman Orb the Origin Saga. Maybe go for a branching storyline from the original show and remake the final arc as was originally intended to show Dark Lucifer make Nagi as a Dunamist longer than she was, and more. Possibly titled Ultraman Nexus if. Next, another idea that I'd want revisited is the Heisei Ultra 7 series. Basically, it was a what if Ultra 7 did not retcon itself into the same universe as Ultraman and carried on as if it was the only Ultra story in its own universe. I admit, I haven't gotten to watching Heisei Ultra 7 yet, but it feels ripe to revisit this and make a Reiwa Ultra 7, seeing as we have now entered the Reiwa era in Japan. Ultra 7 was more mature and tackled deep storylines, and it's said that Heisei Ultra 7 did those too, doubling down on exploring themes relevant to that modern era. From what I've seen people talk about online, there's more to explore via a new installment in the series, especially since we still have Koji Moritsugu, the actor of Dan Moroboshi, around, so it will be a good idea to revisit the idea. Maybe in 2022 as it's Ultra 7's 55th anniversary. And moving on, I would like the idea of Redman to be revisited. Now hear me out on this. Who is Redman? Redman is apparently an alien who's hunting down kaiju as invaders destroy his home. He's had his own show consisting of around 5-minute episodes which was reminiscent of Ultra Fight. It is very infamous for being extremely brutal against monsters for no reason other than them existing. He's sort of become a meme now because of his borderline psychotic nature, and people even see him as somewhat of a villain. He got his own comic series in 2017, explicitly exploring his exploits of kaiju culling. I haven't read that either, but I was thinking Redman could be reintroduced to the Ultra lore, just like Andromelos. This depends on how Tsuburaya Productions wants to depict him. If they do want to go with their portrayal of Redman as a hero, then he could be brought back in a new Ultra Galaxy fight as a supporting character. If Tsuburaya Productions chooses to go with his current public image as a villainous hunter, they could make him an antagonist in any new series, opposing the ideals of the hero who believes that kaiju have the rights to live, and that killing is not the only option. In fact, the kind hero Ultraman Cosmos meeting his polar opposite Redman would be quite the crossover. They do have a Redman suit after all, so it's not like it's not feasible. Either way, I just want Redman to be used again. His newfound popularity should be acted on, and Tsuburaya seems to like to slowly reintroduce all the elements from their repertoire in the past decade, so I hope it's not too far off. On the other hand, revisiting ideas can be detrimental too. For example, there's the risk of the original concept's reputation being damaged by a new installment, such as going for shallower themes or style from the original, disrespecting its legacy, or by unnecessarily continuing a story that's already complete and could hurt previous character developments. Ultraman has avoided a lot of this by virtue of being a changing cast and setting nearly every installment. Anyway, here are some ideas that I think should not be revisited yet anytime soon. Fusions should not be touched anymore for a good number of succeeding entries. It is true that in the past decade, the entries with fusions, Orb, Jeed, and Z, seem to be the most popular recently, but still, that's a good 3 already which use the same gimmick. Any more now, and it will just devalue each of these series' implementation of the fusions, and even make the idea unappealing. Secondly, the idea of any Ultra being a successor or related to another past Ultra. Just in the 3 most recent entries, we had Tiga as the son of Taro, Z as Zero's student and Ace's godson, and now Trigger, the new generation Tiga. Whatever that means. Even their posters have those past Ultras ominously in the background. And even before that, we had Zero the son of Seven and Jeet the son of Belial. Of course, it's cool that they're connected to those Ultras, but it's starting to feel overdone and kind of feels like you can't be a successful Ultra without having connections to a higher up in your organization. I feel like there was a double meaning in there somewhere. It's true that Taro and Zero hardly appeared in Tiga and Z respectively, but attaching these Ultras to all Ultras just because is starting to look too much like blatant advertising for my liking. And finally, the Gaia and Cosmos universe should also not be touched upon anymore in my opinion. The stories in these universes have already been nicely wrapped up, and I personally can't see a way to revisit them nicely. Actually, the same can be said about the Neo Frontier universe, but its ancient giant concept was very worth revisiting, and Tiga is just way too popular to not do anything more with him. And that concludes my thoughts on revisiting ideas from the franchise. I am aware that there are tons of ideas that really deserve to be revisited in a franchise as rich as Ultraman, but I'm the kind of guy who also thinks that some things are better left mysterious. But hey, you guys can share your thoughts in the comments too. Honestly, as long as they have a good understanding and respect for the source idea, any idea can be revisited and succeed if they want. Whew. Well, looks like the other movement I went to was advocating for helmets to have their own helmets. You know what? I think it needs an old Ultraman in the background instead.